And lastly, how did you get started, Courtney? What's your beginning story? What was it like?
Sure. So my background's in the nonprofit world. And so when I moved back into the country from working overseas in the nonprofit sector, I literally stumbled into a job that was in the real estate industry. And more than that, it was what happened at that job that completely changed basically my trajectory.
Yeah.
So when I got back, the job that I stumbled into was I was a property manager for an apartment complex like company that owns many throughout the U.S.
Okay.
But this was their one marina. But it's more so, it's not necessarily just the job and the training, it was the situation. Because day one, when I took the job, I took it as the assistant manager. And like I asked the guy, it came from a referral. The guy who I was replacing, I knew him. And he was like, the downside is the manager that you're going to be assisting has cancer and he's from New York. So he's a prick. And so he's like, you need to help him when he has his days where he gets chemo. And so I kid you not, on the very first day that I took the job, someone from the corporate regional team came in to do my HR paperwork. And I watched his face go white when he got the phone call that the guy who the manager was in chemo passed away my very first day on the job. Wow. And he literally looked at me and said, that was supposed to be your training, because he's like, I only work with the apartments. Here's the marina. And I'm like, what am I supposed to do? So I get thrown into that. Okay. Then without a lot of support, it was kind of like, hey, we're here to help, but we don't know how to help you.
Yeah.
Like, how do you evict a boat? They're like, we don't know, figure it out. But on top of that, when I took that job, it was 40% occupied. It was a 105 slip marina. Well, it was a 98 slip marina, 40% occupied, and 1-star reviews on all the boating sites. And so I just took the job, and, my parents always kind of taught me to leave a place better than you left it.
Absolutely.
And it was one of those things where I was bored. So I would read every file in the filing cabinets, talk to every vendor and say, hey, what did you last do here? What do you know? I talked to the current tenants. Hey, talk to me. What do you like? What do you not like? And they just gave me the freedom. And I just said, hey, maybe I can make this place better. And within 2 years, I took it from a 98 unit marina to 105 units. I added additional units because there's just some dead space on the docks. I was like, hey, can you give me the expense allowance to buy and add? They're like, yes, we will. And I grew it within the first 2 years to 100% occupied, those additional slips, and then 5-star reviews on all the sites that mattered. And it got a lot of corporate attention. Like the president from California flew out and he was like, who the heck are you? And I'm like, I don't know what I'm doing. I'm just bored. And I want to, see this place, overachiever in the past, things like that. But I had no training in real estate. I just was good at talking with people and, giving people attention and good service, I guess, just as far as hey, how was your stay?
Yeah.
I was 24, 25 years old at that time. And I was having these big questions. I just moved from overseas. I had no money. I was living at home. I felt like the broke millennial, living with their parents. But I said, I don't know what the next step is for me.
Yeah.
And I was asking some of those big questions in life. And I had 2 tenants that I spent a lot of time with, because once I got it 100% full, well, I had a lot of downtime. So I really then, these 2 tenants really opened up my eyes. One of them was a full-time landlord with over 40 rental properties. And the other one had just retired himself at 50 from the oil and gas industry because he was a business owner on the side. And so they taught me a lot during that time, but very specifically, the business owner guy said, Courtney, you don't know what you just did for this business. You took a failing asset and turned it around. And I realized that corporate got very excited because they had this failing asset that now, they put it up for sale immediately because they were like, you just turned this thing around for us without us. But my income never rose. I never got a bump in my salary, things like that. They eventually, maybe a year or 2 in, they finally had promoted me from assistant to the main manager, and I barely got a pay raise. And that's when the landlord had been leaving me a lot of books. And one of them was a Kiyosaki book. And it was the idea of, the cash flow quadrant. You have to mind your own business.
Mm-hmm.
I was minding my boss's business by just, doing my job, and I made them a lot of money doing it, right?
Mm-hmm.
But then I realized there was no trickle to me.
Yeah.
And that is when I had those big questions I was asking started turning to studying. And that's when I got turned on to real estate thanks to one of those tenants and some of the books he was leaving me. And it was during that time I bought my first property, and I made more on that one property than I was making on my salary. And I just was like, I'll quit right now. How do I do it again? Because it was just one of those things where I was like, I didn't want to go work for the man or specifically the company, and I didn't think that there was really a lot in it for me to go perform well for others. And I said, the business guy said, Courtney, if you can go this was really pivotal for me. He said, Courtney, you don't understand what you just did for this company. If you can ever find a way to do it for yourself, you will become very wealthy. So yeah, that's how I got started. It was really from a job in the industry that opened my eyes. And then I started with a live-in flip, and my eyes got opened up to the equity I tapped into with that. And the rest is, I don't want to say the rest is history, but it has been a fun road since.
Right. And collectively, how many years have you been actively investing?
9 years. 9 plus, yeah.
And over the course of those 9 years, you have over and over and over seen how minding your business is, without a doubt, the best investment you can make.
Look, absolutely. I'll say